Hello and welcome to a short introduction into the Dragon Age pen and paper role-playing game. Just like the Dragon Age video games, this is set in the world of Thalos. For the purpose of this video, I will assume that you already know things like what Olay is, or who Andraste was, or what a Qunari looks like. If you don't, there's plenty of source material like playing the video games or watching playthroughs, watching lore videos, reading the novels or the sourcebooks World of Thalos Volume 1 and 2, or you can browse through the fandom wiki. There's also some information in the core rulebook of the Dragon Age pen and paper RPG itself. This core rulebook is the re-edited compilation of the 3 previous rulebooks. The first one was released shortly after Dragon Age Origins and only covered levels 1 to 5. The second one after Dragon Age 2 extended that to level 10 and the third to level 20. So if you want to get into this game, all you really need is the core rulebook. There is, however, one other book that could be of interest to you, and that is Faces of Thalos, which includes a lot of characters from video games. So, for example, if you want to meet Duncan, or Varric, or Empress Celine, you can get official stats for them. No, I don't know why they made Duncan a warrior and not a rogue. It also offers 3 new backgrounds for character creation: the Dalish Mage, the Ben Hasrath, and the Incarnated Spirit backgrounds. The core rulebook guides you well through the multi-step character creation process. The first thing you should do is grab a pen and a piece of paper or any other means of recording your progress. The rulebook tells you to start with the character concept, and I agree on that. However, in my opinion, this strongly overlaps with the steps 3 and 4 of the character creation process from the rulebook, namely the choosing of a background and a class. So I'm showing you here a list of all available backgrounds sorted by classes. As you can see, rogues and warriors have a big overlap. There's only one background that only allows you to become a rogue, but not a warrior: Dwarf Duster. Also, there's little overlap between mages on one side and rogues and warriors on the other. Only escaped elven slaves and Tavalen have all options open to them. Let's say you want to create a Qunari Beresaad warrior. What will you need next step? Next would be to determine your base stats. In the Dragon Age video games, these are called attributes, but here in the pen and paper RPG they are called abilities. You get the same 6 from the video games: Constitution, Cunning, Dexterity, Magic, Strength and Willpower, and 2 additional ones: Communication and Perception. Now there are 3 possible ways to determine your starting values. The first is to roll 3 6-sided dice, once for each of these abilities, and take the corresponding value from the random dice table. So, let's grab some dice and let's roll. That's 5, 5, 4, 14, that would be 2. 1, 1, 3, only 5, that would be -1. Oh, now we're talking 6, 6, 5, 17, max 3. 6, 1, 4, 11 is 1. 5, 6, 2, 13 is 2. 4, 2, 2 makes 8 is 0. 3, 6, 2, another 11 is still 1. And 1, 5, 1 for Mega 7. It's just a 0. I rolled slightly above average and I got a total of 9 positive and 1 negative, so basically 8 points in total. Now the second way of determining your starting values would still be through rolling, but you just roll 8 times and then assign each result to whatever ability you want. So if I take the same dice rolls from before, but put them where I want them, I get to this. Now my more important abilities have the highest values, and since this won't be a mage, I can just put a -1 to magic. The third way is a pure assignment system. You get a total of 10 points and can assign them to each ability however you want. You're not allowed to give any ability a value of more than 3 or less than 0. So let's go for the maximum on Strength and Constitution, 2 on Dexterity, 1 on Perception and Willpower, and then leave the rest at 0. The next step would be to apply your background. So we go to the one for Qunari Beresaad, and this tells us that we can add 1 point to our strength. We also get a choice between two foci. A focus gives a bonus to specific tests. For example, the Perception Seeing focus gives you a +2 bonus on your dice results to detect a rogue that tries to backstab you, while the Dexterity Stealth focus would help that rogue to avoid detection. As a Qunari Beresaad, we can choose between Cunning Qun and Strength Intimidation. I picked the former, so our character will be better at determining the will of the Qun when a difficult decision is to be made. We also get to speak and read both Qunlat and the trade term. The background also tells us that all Qunari are susceptible to magic, and thus we suffer a -1 penalty on all tests to resist spells or other magical effects. Also, the Qunari only allow males to serve in the military. So our character can be a man or a trans man, which the Qunari call a Qun. We will go with the latter. The next step involves another table of various additional benefits. For this we have two choices. We can either roll twice with 2 6-sided dice, or we can buy benefits through a point system. If you roll, you simply take the 2 results your dice tell you to. If you go for the point system, you get 3 points. An ability bonus costs 2 points, while everything else costs 1. In both cases, you are not allowed to take the same benefit twice, so if you roll the same thing twice, just reroll until you get something different. I will roll for the 2 versions of our example character for which we used rolled results before, and I will buy benefits for the point system version. That would be 2 3s. That is the focus Cunning Military Lore. And a 3 and a 6 for our second roll, which gives us the focus Cunning Historical Lore. For our point-based version, I instead choose to improve strength by 1 and to take the Constitution Stamina focus. Now we get into the effects from our class. Our starting health is 30 plus Constitution plus 1d6. For a rogue, it would be only 25 plus Constitution plus 1d6, and for a mage, 20 plus Constitution plus 1d6. So I roll, and unfortunately it is just a 1. So for the fully rolled version of our example character, that would be 30 minus 1 plus 1, it's just plain 30. For our rolled assigned version, it is better at 30 plus 2 Constitution plus 1 makes 33. And for our point system version, it sums up to 34. Note that whenever you level up, you increase your health by Constitution plus 1d6. And later, as just by your Constitution without rolling. So having a high Constitution stacks a lot as you progress. The next things are weapon groups. Having these is important because only when you have the appropriate weapon group will you do full damage with an attack. If you use a weapon for which you don't have the right weapon group, you will only do half damage. Every character, no matter what class, starts with the brawling group, so you can use your bare fists. For our example character, I pick heavy blades and light blades, and because it is a Qunari, I also take the spears group. We also receive some starting talents. A talent provides you with certain benefits or capabilities. For example, with the animal training talent, you can train animals to follow commands. Linguistics allows you to learn additional languages, while poison making not only allows you to make poisons, but on higher levels also grenades. For a warrior, though, all starting talents are combat related. We get the novice level of armor training, and normally when you equip armor on a character, you gain a penalty of both dexterity and speed. But with the novice level of armor training, you only suffer the speed penalty. I also take two-hander style, which goes well with our choice of using spears, and the thrown weapon style, so we can also use throwing spears better. And now we get our starting gear. Every character gets a backpack, traveler's garb, and a water skin. For our warrior, we get heavy leather armor and 3 weapons. Obviously, the first weapon will be a two-handed spear. Then I also take a throwing spear and a short sword as a sidearm. Finally, we also get some money, namely 50 plus 3d6 silver. So one more roll. And it's a 2 and 2, 4, so we get a total of 60 silver. Now, of course, you can use this money to buy more useful equipment like cooking utensils or health potions, but I will omit that step for now. If you are going to be the GM of your role-playing group, I have one suggestion to make to give some flavor to the starting gear of your characters. And that is to have one piece of equipment with a rune slot. We did it in my local role-playing group, and our warrior added a rune to his shield, while our mage had a cooking pot with a rune slot and later bought a journeyman fire rune, so we could get hot meals without gathering firewood. Then we calculate our speed and defense value. These are both based on dexterity. For a human or Qunari, speed is 10 plus dexterity, for a dwarf it is 8 plus dexterity, and for an elf it is 12 plus dexterity. So in our case, our fully rolled version has a speed of 11, and for the other two it is 12. Now that is before armor penalties. During combat you have two actions, a major and a minor. As a minor action you can move up to your speed in yards, and as a major action you can run twice as far, and you can take both actions if you really need to get someplace fast. Your base defense is always 10 plus dexterity. Shields, for example, increase your defense, while the spells Arcane Shield and Fate Shield replace your regular defense value with the spell power of the mage. The mage's spell power is 10 plus magic plus the related focus of the spell, if you have it. And some spells like Fate Shield and Spell Wisp increase spell power further. And now for what would usually be the hardest part of any character creation process: finding a name. But Qunari don't use individual names. Instead, everyone is addressed by the rank or function, so our new character will be called Karashok. Here I got the 3 finished character sheets. You can also find these as PDF files linked in the description. Now that we have a character, we can try him out in combat, and to show how combat works for different classes, let's add a rogue and a mage to our party. Now I have 3 characters that have all been made using the point system, and you can find all of them in the description. Our heroes are facing a crazed apostate who has this trusty Mabario with him. The apostate and his warlock lay in waiting as our player characters approached on a path toward the Imperial Highway. So the apostate had already cast one spell in advance, and it is called Arcane Shield. This spell has a base cost of 4 mana points and has a target number of 14. And lasts for 1 combat round. However, the effect of Arcane Shield can be extended by investing 1 additional point of mana for each additional round the spell is supposed to last at the moment of casting. The Crazed Apostate adds 4 more points of mana for a total of 8, so that the spell will last for 5 rounds. So the GM rolls for the Apostate using 3 6-sided dice. 2 of these dice are of the same color, while the third one is different. This unique die is the so-called dragon die. The dice result is 2 4s and a 1. Every time any 2 of the 3 dice get the same number and the kind of test we're rolling for qualifies for such, we get so-called stunt points. The result of the dragon die gives you the number of stunt points you get. And in this case, this was the 1. But first we have to check whether the target number was achieved at all. So we take the dice result, which was 9 total, and add the Crazed Apostate's magic score of 3, and since Arcane Shield is a spirit spell, we also add the spirit focus bonus, which on the base level is +2. So we get a total of 14, which is exactly the target number. The Crazed Apostate uses the stun point to increase the spell power by 1. Arcane Shield replaces the normal defense value, which is general 10 plus dexterity, by spell power. Spell power is 10 plus the magic score plus the focus bonus, and in this case also plus the stunt bonus for a total of 16. The apostate and his warlock are concealed behind some shrubbery, So our approaching characters have to see whether they can spot them, and that is again by rolling 3 6-sided dice for each character. The target number is set to 17. Our Dwarven Rogue rolls a 5, a 3 and a 4 for a total of 12, and adds her perception of 4 for a total of 16. So she fails to discover the ambush, and our Mage and our Warrior rolled even worse. This gives the apostate the opportunity to spring the trap and cast another spell on our unsuspecting heroes, while they were just walking along side by side. This spell is called Mind Blast, and has a range of 50 yards and an area of effect of a 2-yard radius around the central point that has to be visible. So in this situation, the Mind Blast can hit all 3 characters. Again, the apostate has to do a casting roll and gets a 6, a 4 and a 1, so no stun points this time, but with the magic score and the focus bonus, the target number of 12 was easily covered. Our heroes can now try to lessen the effect of the Mind Blast through a resistance test. For this they too roll once more 3 6-sided dice each and add their strength value, and if any of them had it, they would also add the bonus from the Might focus. Our Mage rolls 2 1s and a 6, however this test cannot generate stun points, so rolling doubles doesn't do him any good, and with a strength of 0 the test was failed because the target number was the apostate spell power 15. Our Dwarven Rogue does a bit better, but only gets to a 12 in total, including the +2 she gets to resist magic as a dwarf from Osama, and also fails. But our Qunari warrior rolls a 12 and can add his strength of 5, but has to subtract 1 because he's a Qunari, but still succeeds in the resistance test. In any case, all our heroes are knocked prone, and since our Mage and our Rogue failed the resistance test, they also can take a major action on the next turn. On each turn, a character can take 1 major action and a minor action, or 2 minor actions. Our apostate has used his major action to cast Mind Blast, and now still has a minor action left, which he uses for an activate action and drinks a lesser lyrium potion. After casting Arcane Shield and Mind Blast, the apostate was down to 13 mana points. The lesser lyrium potion adds 1d6 plus magic mana points. But of course, this can never exceed the maximum pool of mana of a mage. We roll a 2, so the apostate is back to 18 points of mana. Still part of the surprise round of the ambush are the actions of the Mabari, which will now use his minor action to close the distance to our heroes and his major action for a charge on the nearest target, which happened to be our Dwarven Rogue. A charge adds a +1 bonus on the attack roll. So we roll for the Warlock and get 5, 2 and 1, and add the normal attack roll bonus of +5 and then the bonus from the charge and get a total of 14, which was exactly the defense score of our Rogue, so the attack was a success. The bite does 1d6 plus 4 damage, and we roll a 5 for a total of 9. Our Rogue is wearing light leather armor, which absorbs 3 points of damage. So our Rogue only takes 6 points of damage and is now down to 24. Now the surprise has worn off and we get into regular combat rounds. To determine the order in which each character takes a turn, everyone rolls for initiative. This is 3d6 plus dexterity and, if present, the initiative focus bonus. Our Rogue rolls really well and also gets a high bonus from 4 points on dexterity and ends up at the top of the initiative, while our Warrior goes second, and the Mabari comes next. However, the apostate and our Dalish elf end up with the same result of a total of 10. So they compare the result of their respective dragon die. The apostate had a 3, while our Dalish mage had a 5, so the latter wins the tie. So even in some rolls that can't generate stun points like initiative, the dragon die might still be a deciding factor. If the result of the dragon die would also have been a tie, the character with the higher ability score would win. And if even that still results in tie, you do an opposed roll until you break the tie. So it is our Rogue's turn, but due to the successful Mind Blast, all she can do this turn is to get back up on her feet. Our Warrior, on the other hand, can both get back up and use his major action to charge the Mabari. He rolls high, so the attack lands, and he even gets 5 stun points, which he uses to bolster his damage with a lethal blow, which adds 2 6-sided dice to the damage roll. The base damage for a two-handed spear is 1d6 plus 3 plus strength. So with the lethal blow and strength added, the total is 3d6 plus 8. And we roll a 5 and 2 2s. Damage rolls can't generate stun points. The total result is thus 17, and the Mabari has an armor rating of 0, so nothing gets subtracted, and the Mabari is already down to only 8 points of health. This hit was so severe that the GM decides to force the Mabari to do a willpower morale test. This too is a 3d6 roll that can't generate stun points, but the Mabari has a willpower of 1, and as a trusted war dog actually does have the morale focus. We roll a 14, and that alone gets us over the target number of 13. The Mabari is now adjacent to both the rogue and the warrior, so he uses his minor action to first move away a few yards, and then charge the rogue once more to get the +1 bonus on the attack roll. The roll is a 4 and 2 3s, and add the attack roll bonus of 5 and the charge bonus of +1, and get a 16, which beats the rogue's defense of 14, and we get 3 stun points. The Mabari decides to use these stun points for a lightning attack, which means he will make 2 attacks against the same target. But first the damage roll for the first attack, which is a 3, and add the damage bonus of +4 for a total of 7. The rogue's light leather armor again absorbs 3 points, and so the rogue takes 4 points of damage. The second attack requires a new attack roll, so it is possible to miss, but the Mabari rolls 2 6s and a 1. However, the second attack can't generate stun points. The attack is a hit nevertheless, and the damage roll is a 6 plus the damage bonus of 4 makes 10 minus 3 because of the armor leaves 7. So our rogue is now at half health. Now it is the turn of our Dalish mage, who, just like our rogue, can't do anything other than get back up on his feet. The apostate is now worried about his dog, and moves in with his minor action to use the spell Heal on a Mabari, which requires touch. For this spell, a caster can choose to use between 1 to 3 points of mana. For each point of mana spent, the spell heals 1d6 points of damage, if cast successfully. The apostate goes for the maximum and invests 3 points. The target number is only a 10 and is easily reached, but without any stun points. The apostate rolls how much damage is healed and gets a total of 7, so the Mabari is now at a total of 15 health. And then we turn back to the top of the initiative order. The effect of Mind Blast lasts only 1 turn, so our rogue is now ready to get into the action. With her minor action, she notches an arrow on her bow. Rogues have the backstab ability, which can give them a bonus to their attack roll and add a die to the damage roll. However, until level 4, this cannot be applied to opponents who at the beginning of the rogue's turn are adjacent to them. So the Mabari cannot be backstabbed this turn, so instead the rogue decides to shoot the crazed apostate. The backstab is done through an oppose test. The rogue rolls for dexterity with the stealth focus bonus, if present, and our rogue does have this focus, while the target rolls for perception with the seeing focus, which the apostate doesn't have. Our rogue rolls 2 3s and a 2, but again this is a roll that cannot generate stun points. We add the dexterity score of 4 and the stealth focus bonus of 2 and add up with a total of 14. The crazed apostate rolls a 6, a 5 and a 1, but has a perception score of 0 and no focus bonus, so it stays at a result of 12, so the backstab was 6. Now we get to the actual attack roll, and here our rogue rolls a 6, a 5 and a 1, adds her dexterity bonus of 4, and a backstab bonus of 1 for a total of 17, which beats the apostate's improved defense of 16. The longbow does 1d6 plus 3 damage, but other than for melee weapons, bows and crossbows don't add a strength to the damage, instead you get a damage bonus from perception. We also get the additional damage die from the successful backstab, so the total damage is 2d6 plus 7 for our rogue this turn. We roll a 6 and a 4, and since the apostate doesn't have any armor, he gets a full 17 points of damage. Because of this massive hit, the GM decides that the apostate too has to do a willpower test. The roll is a 4, a 2 and a 1, and the apostate's willpower is only a 1. With a total of 8, the test target number of 13 was missed. The apostate loses the will to fight and will retreat on his next turn. However, there are still other characters in the initiative order before the apostate. So it is now the turn of our Qunari warrior, and he sees that the apostate is now filled with fear and tries to take him out before he can escape. So the warrior charges the apostate. The attack roll is 2 3s and 2. Add to that the strength modifier and the charge bonus. But we don't have the appropriate focus, so this only adds up to 13. Without Arcane Shield, this would have been a hit, but since the spell is still working, the apostate's defense is still a 16. When the target number is not reached, there will also be no stun points. The Mabari repeats his maneuver from the first round, moving back with the minor action and then charge the rogue again with the major. However, the Mabari rolls pretty badly, getting only a 2 and 2 1s, and even with the attack modifier added, this attack missed. So now it is our mage's turn. As with our rogue, the effect of Mind Blast has disappeared, so he can unleash his full potential and cast Shock. The spell costs 4 points of mana and has a target number of 13, and an area of effect of 6 by 6 yards. So the spell can hit both the Mabari and the apostate at the same time. We roll and get 2 5s and a 1. With our magic score of 4 added, we get a total of 15 and thus have a success with 5 stun points. Our mage decides to increase the spell power by 1 and use the other 4 stun points for fast casting. Meaning after resolving the spell, a second one can be cast in the same turn. Now both targets have to do resistance rolls. For the spell Shock, they add their constitution score, and if they had it, the stamina focus bonus. The apostate rolls only a total of 7 and has a constitution of 0, so the spell is not resisted. The Mabari rolls far better and gets a total of 13 and can add 1 point of constitution. Normally, this would match our mage's regular spell power of 14, but thanks to Beresaad casting stunt, the spell power had been increased to 15, so the Mabari fails as well. Shock does 1d6 plus magic penetrating damage. This means that if the Mabari or the apostate had any armor of all, it would be ignored. The mage rolls for damage and rolls a 5. The magic score of 4 added gives us a total of 9 points of damage. The apostate had only 8 points of health and thus drops down. The apostate is, however, not dead yet. Any character or creature that drops to 0 health is unconscious and will bleed out in a number of turns equal to the constitution score plus 2. An unconscious target is also vulnerable to a coup de grace, a major action that can be done by any adjacent character to finish a target off. The Mabari takes the same amount of damage and is now down to only 6 points of health, so our mage decides to use his second spell from the fast casting stunt to cast Arcane Bolt on the Mabari. The mage rolls 2 3s and a 4, but the second spell can't generate stun points. For Arcane Bolt, however, we might still have to take a look at the Dragon Die. But first comes the resistance roll. For Arcane Bolt, the target adds its dexterity value, plus the acrobatics focus if present, but the Mabari rolls a 9 and adds its dexterity score of 3 for a total of 12. Thus, the spell was not resisted. Arcane Bolt does 2d6 damage plus the result from the Dragon Die from the casting roll, which here was a 4. The mage rolls and gets a 4 and a 2 for a total of 10 points of damage. Since the Mabari only had 6 points of health left, he too is now unconscious and will bleed out in 3 turns. Now that the fight is over, our mage approaches our rogue to treat her wounds. Since our mage doesn't know any healing spells, this is done through the heal action. This is a major action that can also be done during combat and requires a roll on cunning with the healing focus if present, against a target number of 11. Our mage gets a total of 13 and thus succeeds. The target of the heal action now recovers health equal to the result of the dragon die plus the cunning score. So now our rogue gets back 5 points of health. You cannot do another healing action until the target takes more damage, while healing magic could still be applied, as could health potions. While our mage was taking care of our rogue, our warrior was searching the apostate and found a piece of loot. A novice rune of devastation, which can be applied to weapons which have an open rune slot. This rune gives you 1 additional stun point whenever you generate stun points in combat with this weapon. However, this stun point can only be used for the stuns Mighty Blow or Lethal Blow. After a couple of adventures, your characters will reach a point where they will level up. Every time characters gain levels, a couple of steps will need to be taken. For every character, roll 1d6 and add your constitution. The character increases their maximum health by this amount. So if we take our Dalish Mage as an example, he has a constitution of 3 and we roll a 4, so the maximum health increases from 27 to 34. For a mage we also roll a second time for an increase of the mana pool. This time we roll a 6, and unlike in the Dragon Age video games, mana is not based on willpower, but on the magic ability. So we add 4, and so the mana pool is increased from 17 to 27. When your characters reach level 11, you don't roll dice anymore. From level 11 onwards, you only add your constitution to your maximum health and your magic to your mana pool. With every level up, you also gain 1 point to advance your abilities. If you reach an even numbered level, that will be for one of the primary abilities, and on odd numbered levels for one of your secondary abilities. The primary abilities for a warrior are Constitution, Dexterity and Stealth. For a rogue they are Communication, Dexterity and Perception. And for a mage they are Cunning, Magic and Willpower. So our mage decides to improve his magic to 5. Note that this always happens after the improvement of the maximum health and mana pool. Also note that whenever you improve an ability to a maximum of a value of 5, this costs 1 advancement, but to reach values from 6 to 8 you need 2 advancement points per increase, and to reach a value of 9 or more you need 3 advancement points. Also with every level up you gain a new focus. Like with abilities, on even numbered levels you gain a new focus for a primary ability, and on odd numbered levels for a secondary ability. So our mage decides to gain the spirit focus for the magic ability. From level 11 onward, you are also allowed to improve foci you already have. These improved foci give you a bonus of +3 instead of the normal +2. At level 2, a mage also gains a new spell. Our mage decides to learn Arcane Shield, a spirit spell which requires Arcane Bolt, a spell our mage already had from character creation. And that concludes my short introduction into the Dragon Age pen and paper RPG. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. And have fun playing.